Hey, welcome to Runaways podcast. My name is Cody. We are back for another week, and we have entered what everyone loves to say is the slop meta. From this last weekend, we had a bunch of slop in Silver Age. So we have slop over here, and now we have slop over here, which is our CC meta. If you haven't been able to take a look, I mean, I went to a ProQuest, and this is not a joke. 50% of the room was fatigue slop decks. And I was sitting here with my Verdance deck with no pots going, I think I've made a bad decision on my meta call. So we're going to talk about this wide open meta, slop meta, whatever you want to refer to it today. And then we will talk about what has done well in CC. But before that, Noah, you played some Flesh and Blood this past weekend. How did your Flesh and Blood go now that KO is no longer allowed to be played moving forward?
So yeah, I played both a Saturday and a Sunday ProQuest, and my weekend was extremely on brand for the feeling that I'm sure some people do now. Some people are experiencing now, I should say, of sadness. It felt like since I played KO at both tournaments, I figured this is probably the last week I can legally register KO for a rated tournament. Yeah, my losses just felt like sad instances of just things not going my way in the early game, and then I just have to wait 5 or 6 turns, and maybe I can, whip up some brute magic and have a comeback. But I know it's kind of doomed. So yeah, not a good result at either one. But I think it's Cody mentioned this before we started the podcast that now I get to stop registering the hero for tournaments. So maybe it's a win in disguise, even if I didn't actually win on the weekend. And yeah, now I get to. What's up?
Considering how much you complain about playing KO,
Yeah.
or like and losing while playing KO, I feel like this is surely a buff.
I have to mention, you have been registering KO on and off, or at a majority of the events that you go to since like
For
PTLA.
2 years.
Yeah, since the hero came out. Basically, literally since the hero came out, I've been registering them
Which was 2
on and off
years
whenever
ago.
I think it makes sense.
Which was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And now, no pocket pick. There is no pocket pick moving forward for Noah. This is like a brand new world. You lost your pocket pick. You lost your other one, which was Florian. He's also gone. You're just straight new heroes now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the way that the LL leaderboard is shaping up too, I should try to pick someone lower down. So if I develop a new addiction, it's just someone I can have for a while.
True. Lucas, did you play any Flesh and Blood this weekend at a rated event?
I did. Yeah.
How did it go?
At an ELO rated event.
Yes.
Yeah. I played a ProQuest at one of my locals. I played Mario. It was a really small event. We only had 15 players. So it was only 4 rounds of Swiss. I won the first 3. And then in round 4, I paired against a Vincent. And on like turn 2, I think, he played Oblivion. And then the next 2 turns, he played Succumb in a way that I kind of just like didn't play around, because I was like, whatever, if you have Succumb in this spot, like you have it. And both times it was like Succumb to take out the card from my hand that lets me actually kill the Nazareth, and then also use the action point to swing the Nazareth. And so I was down like probably like 15 life, and like he had some board state, and I don't know, I don't remember the exact situation, but I was at like 20 life, like it's a bad matchup, I'm behind, and I like asked the judge, I'm like, how much time is left in the round? And he's like, well, there's like 30 minutes left in the round. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna concede because it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I'll get, if we play in the finals, I guess I get seeding if I somehow win this game, but I'm just gonna concede. So I scooped that, went to get food, and then I came back. They called me while I was I went to Noodles and Company to get lunch, and they called me when I'm in line at the Noodles and Company, and they're like, hey, top 8 starting, you should get back here. And I'm like, no, my 30 minutes isn't up yet. You guys started early. I'm getting my food. If anybody complains, tell them to F off. Like, I'll be there in time. And then I get back, I sit down for my top 8 match. I like shuffle up, I present to my opponent, and the judge walks up behind me and he's like, that's time in round 4. So luckily I was efficient with my time enough that I did not actually mess anything up. But I won my top 8 game, and then in top 4, it was myself and 3 other local friends of mine who were interested in going to Pro Tour Vegas, and I have multiple other potential qualification pathways to this tournament. Obviously, I have some PTIs, and I'm pretty high currently in the World Tour leaderboard. So I just scooped, went home. We there was like some additional prizing that we split in top 4, so I got like a box. So I was happy with my day. I got a box. I got the top 4 ProQuest promo, and then one of our teammates ended up winning that tournament and getting the invite. So I think it was a positive overall, even though I did not, win the tournament.
It's a good way to go out. I made some interesting decisions this weekend.
Mhm.
So I am back. I am playing Flesh and Blood. Everything is right in the world. I was very happy about this. And the morning of, and the night before my ProQuest, I'm like, I don't know what to play. I could play all the things. And then Lucas floats this little Verdance list by me, and it's all physical. It's just an all physical Verdance list. It has all the new attacks, which are very exciting. And then I look down and I see, dude, they are exciting. I love them. And then I look down and I see there's no pots in this list. I hate pots. I hate the whole pot setup and the combo part of Verdance. And I'm like, oh, I can just play all physical Verdance. I'm sold. And so I build this deck. I go to my ProQuest. 50% of the room is fatigue decks. And I go, well, I have a plan. We'll see how it works. Not to worry, I didn't really make it that far. I lost to a Hunter Man because my fatigue plan was not good enough to beat the Hunter Man. And then I also lost to a Kasai who just like put 3 units on the board on turn 3, and I was like, I misjudged the speed of this match.
You gotta call them Centauri sellswords. You can like call them dudes and guys like you normally do, but they are
dudes.
You're gonna out jargon the comment section, dude. Like they're gonna have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, if I say they put dudes on the board, Kasai put dudes on the board, and you don't know what I'm talking about,
no, dudes works. Units is just out of the. Nobody knows what units are, man.
Sure.
Like what? They put 3 inches on the board. 3 meters. Come on.
So I was like, huh. I have misjudged the speed of this match. If I had realized the speed of the match like 1 round earlier, I think I could have got there. I was like 1 damage off in the late game. Also, if I had just drawn a blue on my kill turn at the late game, I would have still won the game. But I could have not put it in that spot. That was just inexperience. End up not making top 8 there. I decide not to run back Verdance. And then as I'm building a deck in the morning, I go, I'm missing the cards for this deck. I guess I will run back Verdance. So I go play Verdance. I get blown up by an Acilio who opened double Sigil of Brilliance on turn 0. That one was tough. And then I also lose to a KO who does 31 damage to me in 1 turn because he had Cast Bones in his deck. He got to go hit me, play Cast Bones, and then play a whole Blood Rush turn afterwards. And I got cooked. So if you won with Verdance this weekend, which 13 of you did, I don't know how. You're better than I am. I can say that.
You should know exactly how, right? It's like basically all of your losses were my opponents had some shenanigan happen, and my deck is utterly unable to defeat shenanigans. But like your deck would have been lit if nobody ever did any shenanigans. You'd win like every time. That's why this is good.
The games were easy when no shenanigans.
Exactly.
I was like, this is the easiest game I've ever played.
That's how people win ProQuest with Verdance, is their opponents don't do enough shenanigans. You go to a locals and there's no shenanigans afoot. Everyone's doing.
I feel like it's the shenanigans like meta though. At least my games felt like shenanigans meta.
I think there's a lot of shenanigan decks for sure. But it's also like the shenanigan decks don't do the shenanigans every time, right?
You're blaming me on bad jargon.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried. I don't know. That's not jargon. That's dictionary.com. If you don't know what a shenanigan is, find out.
I'm glad you brought up, by the way, the fact that it doesn't happen every game. I've never really felt the need to complain about FAB being best of 1, but this weekend was definitely an example of it where, like I was saying, it just felt like the draw sequence in the early game dictated the course of the entire game. And it made me like reminiscent of times when I play games that were best of 3 in a sense of I really just want to scoop right now, like you actually did, Lucas. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I was cooked. I want to scoop, but I feel like if we got to run this back 2 out of 3, I would win.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not
Verdance
something
is
I
a
ever
way
think they
better
should.
deck if it's
Yeah.
best 2 out of 3.
What's up?
I said Verdance is a way better deck, in my opinion.
Yeah,
If it's
Verdance
a
is
2 out of 3.
better deck for sure. Yeah, I think a lot of decks get better. It's not something that I ever really want them to implement or should implement, just for like the tournament logistics, especially when you talk
Mhm.
about like those fatigue slop decks. But yeah, I think any deck that plays cards that are relatively inflexible means you're much more prone to having bad things happen to you, I think, over the
Yeah.
course of like one game,
As
or
someone
having
who's
really
been
good things go in your
playing
favor.
a bunch of best of 3, that was one of the most exciting parts about coming back to FAB, was not having to play best of 3
Yeah.
anymore. I liked that when I won the game, I was just done. Like it wasn't like there's a weird, like, you win game 1 and you're like, okay, we got to do it again. Like, but this game, you're just like, I win, I'm done. I won my game. There's nothing left to prove.
I agree. It feels like the fact that the victory condition for a match in Flesh and Blood is the same as the victory condition for a game is very satisfying. Like when you execute your game plan and it works out and you win the game, like you just win. I echo what Cody's saying for sure.
To be fair, there are definitely formats where I wanted best of 3. I'm thinking of like PT Amsterdam, for example. Like that one.
Honestly, I wish
liked.
that one was like best of half. Like let's just
Yeah.
I wish it was Blitz instead of CC, just so we didn't have to play it as much.
I just think
Fair.
it's very like not satisfying when you have a game plan, but because your first attacking turn going second doesn't pan out, or you your opponent's first attacking turn going second is exceptional, something like this, and you just start the game behind. I mean, this is also evidence in Silver Age too. Yeah, that's where I think it just leads to the most like feelings of hopelessness. Like, oh, I wish it was best 2 out of 3. Like, I wish there was some recourse because I know I've already lost the game, and it would take a miracle of them drawing bad for me to get back into it. I think that's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah,
I think I've talked about this on the podcast before too. One sec.
Yeah.
I've talked about this on podcasts before too, where I hate when the game engineers situations where I feel like all I'm doing is preying on my opponent to fail. I prefer much more when it's like an actual game of like we're competing back and forth and there's ebbs and flows, as opposed to just my opponent's on top of the mountain and I hope they tumble off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think FAB has less of that than other games, which is still why it's okay to be best of 1. Like, I agree with what you're saying, but if I think about my experience playing like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic or Pokemon, those happen at a much higher frequency, and also like in Flesh and Blood, at least I would say in almost every CC meta, with the exception of like wizards or things that do wizardy stuff, right? So like Zen maybe, or like High Octane Dio. It feels like there basically is always some opportunity for like, oh, I had a really bad first like 2 turn cycles. I'm quite far behind, but like if my opponent stumbles, I have this opportunity. And it's not necessarily that there's always like, oh, I can do this thing to prolong the game and make it more difficult for my opponent, but compare it to something like Yu-Gi-Oh, where like the game is often actually over as soon as the cards are drawn. I think of like Magic, like some games like, oh, well, I had no lands and then 7 lands, so I'm at 5, and the 5 I kept wasn't very good, so I guess I could technically hope my opponent fails, but really, like, if my opponent just has a good 7, I'm just gonna lose.
But I think
Flesh and
that
Blood.
the
Go ahead.
okay, go ahead.
No.
Finish your point.
No,
I was gonna say that the moral of this, I think, is actually positive. I think the moral of this should just be that people should not be agents of chaos. They should all play decks where your cards block for 3, maybe you have some defensive cards, and you're not just playing like this crazy balls to the wall aggro deck that can just obliterate the opponent.
That's
Like,
a very
let's engage with
smooth
actual
transition.
flesh and blood, you know?
Yeah, it's a very smooth transition to our upcoming meta where 3 blocks.
I disagree. Like,
Okay.
we say this, right? We've made this claim many times where it's like, oh, I like the meta when it's slower and it does the thing. And honestly, there's like one meta, I think, ever
It's just heavy hitters.
that it's just heavy hitters that's ever existed in that frame, because all of the other frames are either were above power level where we're like doing Zen related shenanigans, or we're below power level, which means that like the one big turn makes the whole game. And that's like Last Worlds and a little bit before. And so like we're in that situation now where everything sucks, like compared to like the whole history of the game. But so we're all playing decks that like do weird things in order to win. So it's like Acilio, Kasai, Io, like all of these decks are like heavy value on some turns, like a heavy value turn, which dictates the whole game. That's basically the whole style of the game right now. And then there's the slop decks. We'll get to those eventually, but that's like, so we're still in that meta. Even with the slop decks, the way you get around the slop decks is put all of your value on 2 turns, like instead of putting it across the whole game. And that leads to the type of games you're talking about being bad.
Yeah, I think the metas that are actually the most like the least problematic in terms of just like a single turn or 2 turn cycles dictating the whole game are the metas where the power level is on the higher side, but where we have a lot of powerful decks. I'm thinking like Worlds, Osaka as like a great example.
Osaka Worlds is a great example. I love that meta.
I think you could even say like High Seas coming out a little bit where we have like the Hunted Heroes and Gravy Bones and the Earth Heroes. I think once that meta consolidated a little bit, it was less so. But I think Noah had a thought that he wanted to share.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just being extremely selfish. This whole thing, I may be talking to an audience, but I'm making a PSA to myself that I just need to play a deck that doesn't allow my opponent to be doing these things. Like I think the worst feeling is my opponent is like a 5-card hand is an aggro deck, and I have great value. Like I'm playing Buck Wild into Bare Fangs, but my opponent's life total doesn't go to 0, and then their 5-card combination is significantly stronger.
I have a deck for you. It's called Arachne Marionette.
Well, Arachne Marionette's the same thing. What if you do Savor, Calicera, Scar Tissue? It's powerful, but it doesn't put their life total to 0.
Yeah, but you have a lot more cards.
They can just take the damage in 40 you.
So you have 2 things that like a KO doesn't have. First of all, sometimes you end the turn with a Leave No Witness.
Okay.
And second of all, your cards are much more able to go sideways when they do that. You also have cards that are profitable to go sideways in some cases.
You actually, in that situation, you would have probably, like if they're marked already, you would use Hat, go to Trapdoor, get your defensive value, and then do like one big
after Trapdoor or something. I mean, Fleshbag is sort of similar in that it's like getting 5 value on the big turn cycle.
Yeah, I think the big deal is just that you want to, or like into decks like this, you want to play decks that, I mean, if you want to not get shenanigan, you just play the aggressive disruptive decks, right? Like those are the decks that are the best at not getting shenanigan. That's why the formats where most decks are slightly on the more powerful side feel often less shenanigan-y is just because like
we gotta expand our vocabulary, man. Come on.
Yeah, for sure. The decks that do more powerful things turn over turn are less susceptible to the decks that have one big power spike because you can just kill them in 3 or 4 turns with relative ease.
Fi exists. You can play Fi. It does the same thing every turn.
It's true.
That's not what I want.
It's just, it's not what the meta's about right now. It's not about being consistent. It's about having like 2 turns that are just higher value than what the game's supposed to allow right now. You can see that in Vincent, you see that in Acilio, you see that in Kasai, you see it, like literally all of the Dio, you see all the good decks. Mario is like a good example. All the good decks have like 2 big giant turns that the game's like, I don't think you should be allowed to do that. And then the rest of the turns are like mediocre.
Yeah. And then building the deck is basically about figuring out how to have a game plan that's able to extract above rate value turn over turn in between those big turns. Right? Like the way that you're building the Acilio deck is trying to not only maximize your Gone in a Flash, but also make sure that on the other turns, like you're staying at a reasonable enough value to where you don't fall so much behind that you can't win even with like a 30 damage Gone turn. Or like, Dio is basically all just boost cards and that's it at this point. Like the deck is essentially all just boost cards. You have 3 sparks and then a few items. But it's just I just want to attack my opponent with 4 cards every single turn of the game, and then some of those turns are going to be max fee.
Yep. I agree.
I mean,
that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think,
but we've been here for a while. I think
Yeah,
this type of gameplay is more
Agreed.
consistently what the game has been
Yeah.
in the history of FAB.
Yeah.
Like it's always been about sidestepping. We have, and I forgot about Osaka meta. I think we've had 2 metas, heavy hitters and Osaka meta, where we had actually like cards for cards, turn over turn type of value games, and the whole format was kind of that way.
Even then though,
Osaka less,
Well,
but heavy hitters.
I was gonna
the only
say
meta that
even
was exactly
Osaka,
that.
right? Like you still have some of the stronger decks are strong because they're just trying to have, like you look at Viscerai. You can even say CYB to an
Dio.
extent. Honestly,
Dio at that time
Yeah,
as
Dio
well,
for sure.
because it was combo Dio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was just kind of because like I don't know, calling it combo Dio is like some of the decks were combo Dio, some of the decks were just aggro Dio that could also do 60 because why not?
I mean, it was system reset Dio.
Yeah.
So
Some of them. Yeah.
I mean, that was the definitive version that did well. So
Agree. But at the time, people were playing all sorts of other lists.
okay, let's talk about what did well in the first week of CC ProQuest. And top of the board, I mentioned this before, is Verdance at 13 wins. That's 13 people who could win a ProQuest that aren't me. We have Marionette at 11. We have Dash.io at 10. And then we have the Hunterman Arachne at 9, which is probably shocking. That has never been the case before, but Pablo did show this deck off, which was pretty cool. So, any of this surprise you? The Verdance surprised me personally, but we've already talked about why that might be. I think Hunterman popping out and doing well. I wonder how many people actually brought the deck. I really wish we could see population numbers of how many people played these decks. But
I think Huntsman is just an interesting case of the math actually making more sense now that we have a payoff for silver. Before, the payoff for silver was like gaining 1 life every 2 silver, but doubling that basically now, given that you can buy back the gloves, I think is a significant increase. I mean, think about the amount of Flesh and Blood games that are down to sub 5 life, right? If you just have that extra 5 life over the course of the game, you're smooth sailing. So
yep.
I think it makes sense that he's doing much better.
The gloves also do an interesting thing that I hadn't considered initially, but the difference between being able to buy back the gloves and the other equipment also lets you use your other equipment blocks when you want to. One problem that Huntsman has had in the past is you have a bunch of breakpoint equipment that you can like try and rebuy over the course of the game, but you have to just like blow it up every turn. And you have so like every turn you're like, okay, if I want to buy back my 1 life, I have to like throw an attack, and I have to have blocked with my equipment last turn, and then I have to blow up my equipment for maybe no value just to be able to buy it back. And now it's like, okay, I'll just block with my gloves every time. If I have extra silver, I'll just block 2 with my gloves, buy it back, and then if they play a snatch at the end of the chain, I have some equipment to come back for it. So I think it's not always the biggest deal, but the math is, I think, more than just like, 2 more life per silver than it was before. Like being able to have utility on your other equipment is quite important.
Yeah, this is certainly true. I just think the math when you look at a card like Hunter Hunted, the D react that costs 3 is like horrendous math where you're spending 2 cards for 4 value, but because you're actually just directly gaining that life back with the gloves, I think it becomes much better at advancing his overall game plan of fatiguing the opponent.
Yeah, it's going to be like 2 card 6 or 2 card 7 if you can hit like 3 silver and maximize that value. Like that's a lot more reasonable.
That's actually good. 2 card 7 go again as a blue that also just like disrupts their game plan is pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean that's like what? That's not giving how much value to give to the negative cards as well.
Yeah,
it's like,
let's not put numerals on it, but it's very good. It's very good if it's a card that you hit is very good.
Yeah.
True. Like maybe a red tilling you hit off the top, and then I have a tilling in my hand, and then they get that and more tillings out of my deck.
Oh yeah.
Would that be good? Yeah. I think
I would.
They get 4 for silver.
Yeah, the worst piece of text on that card as well, the fact that it says, look at your opponent's arsenal.
Yeah.
Why does it do that shit? It doesn't need to do that shit. It could just banish all of them from the deck. You don't need it to also sometimes be CNC.
Followed by KO, who will not be taking up any more points. They are done eating points for the rest of forever. Also, it has taken the claw with them, so good luck everyone else. Acilio at 7, Kasai at 6, and Syndra, that no one talks about, still here at 5 wins.
Maybe we should talk about Syndra. It had the highest conversion rate at the calling to loose to day 2. I think there were 5, and I think 3 of them made day 2, something like that. Maybe it was like 7, and like 4 of them made day 2. Shout out to you guys. Keep on flicking those daggers.
It's the same deck as before. You just have fewer starters.
Mhm.
I haven't looked at every single list, but I would presume it's basically a similar idea. Just you have starters, extenders, chain enders, and you hope you draw a good mix of them.
Yeah, Syndra is not as bad as the, I guess, representation.
Yeah,
I think has shown for the deck. Another deck that I don't think is as bad as the representation has shown is Gravy Bones here at 5. Jarl at 5, Victor at 5, Terenthia at 3, Katsu at 3. I think if Gravy Bones didn't have a 0% matchup into Acilio, and not being able to beat Acilio ever basically meant it's hard to win tournaments, I think we would see a board of these Gravy Bones. Because it's not actually that bad into the meta.
I think Gravy also has now become a hero, similar to like Acilio like a meta or 2 ago, where because Pilfer the Tomb exists now, which is, if you're unfamiliar, that's the new instant that banishes yellow cards from your opponent's graveyard. People just have incredibly powerful technology. So if you're like a local Gravy main and you like win a ProQuest every season with Gravy and you like pull up, like everyone kind of knows what's up. So people are going to be more prepared for you. And at a local tournament, it seems a lot more reasonable to include tech for something like Gravy. So I could also see that making him a little bit weaker at ProQuest than he perhaps would be otherwise.
I guess that's fair. All right, we'll see. I'm interested to see if the Gravy Bones comes full circle as we move into this wide open meta. Typically, the very wide open metas are good for the board state decks in the history of the game. This has typically been the case.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because Gravy's not the same as the other board state decks because he doesn't have a consistent game plan to fall back on because he's not based on defending. So like the other, like you think like Dromai or Enigma, like if you pair into some random deck, you just like put your guys on the table and then you block. And if that deck's not able to kill you through your blocks, then you just run them over. But Gravy, it's like if a random deck just attacks you, you might just die because you might not be able to block. You don't have as much like inevitability in your game plan. You have to change it depending on the matchup and things like that.
Yep. So I look at this giant list of just all of the heroes in the game, basically, that have all won. And I keep hearing about how this is the most diverse meta ever in Flesh of Blood. Nay, the most diverse meta ever in the history of all card games to ever exist on this planet Earth. Nay, the entire galaxy. This is what I've been hearing. So, you tell me, is this the best meta that has ever existed in any card game in the history of the world?
Whoa.
You just
the first thing you said was right.
There, man.
You're trying to get us. That's a trick question, teacher.
Slide that right in there.
You know,
you worked with sharks, man. Come on.
Okay. I'll give you fair. The most diverse metagame in the history of all card games that have ever existed. Is that currently what we're experiencing?
Ask the nerds, man. Ask the people who crunch the statistics. I believe them if they tell me. I don't care.
I think, yeah, you can just look at one piece of simple evidence that Vincent Iron Maiden won ProQuest, but the Vincents came out in droves, at least by me. I'm assuming other places too. After it's had pretty solid performances and only one.
And at the calling.
Yeah, top 8 of the calling. Yeah, exactly.
No, I meant it showed up at the calling.
It showed up and had success. Obviously,
it was like third or fourth most played.
Third most played. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it has high representation. So I think like if you talk about the meta, not meta, I guess the format, the legal decks that you can register, there are a multitude of them, and all of them have arguments to be made for why you would run them, like the different flavors of decks that are fatigable but do a lot of damage in single turns. There's different reasons why some of them are stronger than others. The decks that kind of just do damage turn over turn and alternate between blocking, there's reasons for those, and then there's also reasons for each different flavor of your opponent running out of their deck.
So I think there's two camps here that I've been seeing. I have seen this is a great metagame, this is very diverse camp. And I have seen this is fake diversity, this is not an actual good metagame camp. And maybe some of these opinions cross at some points. But what do you think is more accurate? Is this like, do you think the metagame's good? Do you think it's like very diverse and healthy? Do you think it's just all the decks are the same, so that's why you see the diversity in the decks?
You keep putting the word diverse next to other good
But
connotations.
this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing these adjectives used together.
But that's
so I'm asking.
My personal view is that diversity in the context of a trading card game metagame is not an inherent strength, and it is not inherently a good thing. So I think I probably lean a little bit more towards the meta is. So I will say I don't think the meta is unhealthy. I think that we are in a spot where there are a multitude of different decks, and I think that they operate differently enough that it is actually diverse. Like, even though Dash.io and Vinset are aggressive decks that can be fatigued and whose best piece of counterplay is normally decks that block well, they still operate very differently, and they have very different matchup spreads. But I think this meta leaves a lot to be desired, and I think most of that comes from the not necessarily the patterns of the games, but the way that the games actually play out with like half of the matchups in the metagame. I think like most of the decks pairing into, I think Dash.io and Vincent are a great example. Most of the gameplay against both of those decks is not very interesting because it's almost all just sideways cards. You look at the Fatigue Slop decks, they are just doing sideways with their game plan. You look at, I mean, that's most of the meta, right? And then everything else in between is basically like, you look at something like Acilio, right? Where he's going to just solitaire, and then, you know, maybe a third of the metagame forces him to do more than just solitaire and play his hands out. So I don't know. I think this meta is okay.
I counter argue you.
Yeah, of course.
I counter argue. It is your job to find the deck in which you enjoy the play style of, since there are infinite slot buckets for you to choose from. So like, so if you're going to say, I think it's boring to play against these decks over here, well, you should pick the deck that is then fun to play into all of the decks. Whether you are the Acilio player who is, I got to figure out how I'm going to combo and avoid all the things, and everyone's trying to hate me, and that's you're engaging. It doesn't matter what deck you're playing, it's you're engaging on your game plan. If you want to be the IO or the Vincent deck, you decide which of these two hyper aggressive on 2 turns fatigable decks do I enjoy playing more. Oh, I want to be a fatigue player. Which of these 17 fatigue decks do I actually enjoy playing the most? Or I want to be a bad deck, and then you pick one of the bad decks to play as well. Like, that's always an option. So this feels like if you're not having fun in the meta, it's because if you're not having fun in the meta, it feels like it's because you are failing to choose the deck that you're having fun playing.
Yeah, also, if we look at just the top two, I would say those are probably the 2 decks that are the most flexible between being offensive and defensive. And maybe it's no coincidence that those 2 are the 2 decks that actually won the most events, given that
Marionette and Verdance, of course.
Yeah, Marionette and Verdance, yeah. Given that you can flex between the evil playstyle of not engaging with the game systems and just putting your card sideways, but you can also be the more proactive style when you play against the decks who are putting their card sideways at a more efficient rate than you. So yeah, maybe just finding a deck that can play in the middle ground of you're kind of like winning the war on two fronts, right? You're beating the people who can do more damage on average per like big turn than you, so you be defensive, and then over here the people who are just trying to stymie what you're doing and win by fatiguing you, you can go over what they're doing. So I think yeah, maybe some deck that exists in the middle. That's where I think Huntsman is kind of interesting because Huntsman, you mentioned Cody about like putting cards sideways. We keep like using this term, but I think while Huntsman does want to put some cards sideways, Huntsman like definitely wants to be attacking you every turn. Like you want to be throwing contracts and banishing the opponent's deck and being proactive in doing that. If you just all you do as Huntsman is defend, you're never actually going to win because you don't have like
True.
a real hammer like a Guardian, right?
True.
You don't have a sledge type card. You have to actually like attack them with your 0 for 4 attacks to fatigue them. So
Do you like future fatigue and active fatigue? Play
Mhm.
Huntsman. Like
Yeah.
that is. Do you like counter fatigue? Then play like Pallades because you're the whole game you're just trying to counter whatever your opponent's trying to do. You know, based on the cards that are in your deck. Like, do you want to stop big turns? Play like Jarl fatigue. Like that. That is the you aren't allowed to have big turns type of fatigue deck. Like all of these things have some type of like flavor that is a little different. I don't know. It's like slop buckets. It's literally just like here's a bucket. All of these decks match the same style.
Okay,
Pick which flavor you like.
Let's change it from slot buckets. Let's imagine you're in the Midwest. I don't know why I always see frozen yogurt shops in the
We're
Midwest.
done. Yeah.
You're in the
I'm here.
Midwest. You're in Ohio or something. One of
Come
the
on.
great
Come on.
places.
Jeez.
What I broke the illusion already being in Cleveland.
Yeah.
You're dragging
go to
down
your
my
local-
moral.
Oh,
My
I'm
mental,
sorry.
not my moral.
You go to your local Menchie's, you get frozen yogurt, you see all the different flavors. Imagine this. Instead of slop is gross, disgusting. Let's imagine it's like ice cream or frozen yogurt, something pleasant and sweet, something we all enjoy.
I don't know. I just imagine a giant like pig trough, and
Yeah,
then like
let's be
you
more
pick
positive, man. Come on.
you pick which trough you want to eat out of, man. Just
That's a very negative framework. I feel like this is a good thing.
I don't know who invented the slop term. I don't know, like, but it's like the community all agreed that this is the correct word to use in both formats, and I'm here for it. I love it. I love that.
I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit overused in CC. To be fair, I think the thing is in CC, even though there are different flavors of similar play styles, like they have very different play styles still, and they also have different matchup spreads. Like you look at the Guardians, it's like, yeah, you can call the Guardians slop decks, but like Valda's like a mid-range aggro deck. Pleiades is like Dirtle fatigue. Jarl is this like weird disruptive slash fatiguey, sometimes you kill him deck. And Victor's just like a value punish your opponent for trying to do something fair deck.
Yeah,
I think you look at like Sage, right? Like the Sage like warrior decks, like the Oldhim decks in Sage, like those are picking from the trough. Like those came out of something alive.
Slop is when you just put a bunch of generic cards in your deck that you never actually intend on casting. You just use them for their defense. Like imagine the the life gain Oldhim deck of old, where like you literally just put every single card that could block 4 or gain life. That's like Slop. Yeah. Whereas you look at like Victor, it's like he's choosing between these different attacks that can potentially crush. He has the block cards, which are have very different effects based on how they
we saw
resolve with the opponent, that kind of thing.
A card that people were not as interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think frozen yogurt's a much better analogy for CC. Like I think most of the decks are like very inviting and interesting, and like they have weird matchup spreads where like you can maybe improve here, you can maybe improve here, but I still am not sold that it's the best meta. I think that's mostly just because it feels like there's a high frequency of matchups that are incredibly uninteresting.
Best is subjective. Everyone's going to have whatever they think their best meta is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we can agree this is a good meta.
Yeah,
I think it's hard to say this is a bad meta. Like you've really got to stretch to say it's bad. We've had bad metas.
If you were to say it's a bad meta, I think the biggest actual criticism of this meta is that it is stale. Like we have kind of had most of this stuff for a while, and even though it is more diverse than maybe it has been in the past, it feels like, I don't know, maybe other people feel differently about that though, right? Maybe some people say Vincent and Huntsman being newer is enough to make the meta feel new. And we have a bunch of LLings, right? So it's not the exact same meta that we've had forever. But it does feel like a lot of the gameplay is similar to what we've had for a long time. But
I think it really comes down to, do you think fatigue should exist in the game? Because like if you are one of the people who doesn't not like fatigue at all, then yes, you're absolutely going to hate this meta.
Yeah.
And every single thing it stands for.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did want to ask this question then, because we are all okay with fatigue existing in the game, right? Have been for a long time. My question is, there are a lot of people who don't like fatigue, especially at like a ProQuest level. Is this an aspect of like the game that can push people out? Is this an issue for so many of the decks to be fatigue-ish decks, especially when you show up and like half the room is fatigue?
Yes. Yeah, it's a huge problem, I think.
It's one of the most polarizing formats. Like,
okay, so wait, explain more why you say it's a huge problem. Because you think people,
I think
like, what do you think is the core issue?
So I think the core issue is that there is a strategy. So and honestly, I want to clarify. I don't even necessarily think that this is like a valid take as somebody who, like, if you are frustrated with this, like, I don't know that it's a valid criticism of the game system, but like when you have something like fatigue, whose win con is just put cards sideways, if there isn't like an easy answer, it just makes people not want to play. Like, and I don't necessarily, like, I'm not this way, but like if I'm thinking about going to a ProQuest right now and I know 20 or 30 or more % of my room is going to be some fatigue decks, like right now I'm looking at the meta, especially once Verdance LLs, and I'm thinking, what do you do? Like if you're somebody who doesn't want to put in the work to have an exceedingly robust and dynamic game plan, what do you do? There's not really a good answer right now. And again, I don't necessarily think that's a problem with the format. I think there's a bunch of decks that can beat all of these fatigue decks. I think there's a bunch of decks that have some game plans with some consistency to them. But there's not like there's so many more fatigue decks than there are counter fatigue decks. Like there are very few decks that just like you load them up, you do autopilot, and the fatigue deck loses. Right? Like if I'm a fatigue player at my locals right now, if I play into 5 players who I know don't know what's going on with my deck, they're probably all going to lose. And so you think of that from the perspective of a new player or even a newer player. Oh, I've been playing for 3 months. I don't really have a good feel for how to beat fatigue yet. It's not really a skill that I've had the opportunity to flex. It's not something I've had the opportunity to learn. I'm obviously, if I'm a competitive player, I'm going to try to learn it. But like, I don't know. Like I feel like the lack of just like, here's a thing that you can do that just beats the fatigue decks consistently does make some amount of people turned off by the game. Just like when you go to your locals and you see the top tables being a lot of different fatigue decks, it is disheartening, I think.
I think in times of old, you had the original Prism. You had maybe Gravy Bones when he was more powerful. I think you've had, Droma Enigma, these types of decks. I think we almost always had a board state deck that was kind of the level 0. This punishes fatigue because,
or even a wizard.
You're forcing them to, wizard, Kano as well, with Verdance rotating, like you mentioned, that we're running out of. I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad thing because I usually hate those decks existing, but we're definitely running out of the. Oh, if your room is all fatigue decks, just you can defeat them with this one simple trick: swap to board state.
Yeah, well, it's like there's no like Cosmic Awakening Zen, right? Like there's no like Flicker Whisper Aurora, right? Like there's no, even if it's not like the cleanest game plan, there's no just like, here's a 5-step program that takes some skill to execute, but everybody can kind of understand it, and you are able to beat the fatigue decks consistently. Now
This
most
would be
decks,
where
most decks
this would be
fatigue
where
like,
Mansant comes in and tells us, "Oh, recursion Levia. Oh yeah, you
right,
just beat every fatigue deck."
right. But like most decks
But
fatigue
no
plan
claw.
nowadays is just kind of like you throw your cards at them. If your cards line up well, you're just gonna beat them. But I don't know. I think the lack of being able to just definitively beat the fatigue decks also leads to some of this, right? Like
No,
there's a reason the
I,
fatigue decks are good.
I'm
It's be-
torn here because as a player of the game, I currently enjoy this type of format. As someone who plays this game at a highly competitive level, I enjoy playing the game because it is a highly competitive card game in which the game is developed for the most part within like top end competitive play in mind. And as that part of me, I really like this. I look at all the fatigue decks and then play the fatigue decks into each other, and all of this is enjoyable for me. Or grab an aggro deck. How can I beat the fatigue deck? Let's make a plan, and then let's execute the plan. I like that part as well. So that part of me, I love it. But I know my locals aren't enjoying this.
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact that if I go and show up to my locals and there's 13 people there, and 7 of them are fatigue decks, there's no world where the other people that are showing up at my locals are having fun.
Yeah.
That is really bad for the game as a whole, in which I want the game to do well. I think a meta like this, honestly, the devs have to make a decision on how they want their game to sit. This is a pretty big, in my mind, a pretty big like diversion point. Either the devs are going to say, hey, this is part of our game. This is what it means to play Flesh and Blood. It can exist. If you don't like it, we would recommend that you learn to like it, or maybe here's some tools, or here's something. That is a stance that you can take.
Yeah.
Right? The other stance is, hey, this is never allowed to be this dominant in the game because, well, most people don't like fatigue in any card game, whether it's fatigue, mill, whatever, however you want to refer to it as, hard control, whatever it is. Most players in most card games do not like these strategies. And when they are the most dominant strategy, that is when you see the most people stop playing your game. So this is like a crossroads moment, I think, for the dev team with a ban list coming up in a couple of weeks that is going to make a decision that I think is going to indicate how they view their players should react to something like this.
Well,
And I don't envy their position because I don't know what the right answer is. And do you want to capture more people at your locals and have them continue to have fun? Or is this a competitive card game? How do you balance the two of them right now? Because this is completely against each other.
Yeah, my biggest concern for this ban list in particular is that like it's not like the fatigue decks are converting at a ridiculously high rate, right? Like they're not. It is a super diverse meta. Nothing's a problem in terms of meta diversity, right? Like there's nothing that is clearly too high of a percentage. So for them, they're going to have to look at the meta and they're going to have to do a few things. First of all, they're going to have to isolate the strong strategies, which is something that we know is hard to do sometimes if the community doesn't just do it for you. So like if you're saying we want the fatigue slop decks gone, it's like, are they going to actually hit like fatigue Jarl or fatigue Pleiades on the list? Right? It's like, what does that look like? Probably not. But then it's what are your other options for balancing this format? Because like you said, or like we've been talking about, there's a bunch of different yogurt flavors. There's 6 different yogurt flavors. They're all kind of just fatiguing you.
When you add all of the wins that the fatigue decks got over the weekend together, it is a dominant portion of the
no. But that's the problem. Then is it's like, what's a fatigue deck? Is Victor a fatigue deck? Is every Valda ProQuest win a fatigue deck win? Is
we know for sure, for the most, not for sure, we know most part it's Jarl, Pleiades, and Huntsman are all
those are definitely the big
very deep into fatigue, and then some Victor games are fatigue, and not really Valda's not really fatigue, but like it can be, but it's not really. So even if you just do like Jarl, Hunterman and Pallades added together, that is by far the most winningest. And then you put some of the victors in there, and that's by far the most winningest as well. So that means most ProQuests were like won by a fatigue deck. So what do you do? Like, I don't envy them because I don't know the answer to this. And I wouldn't be mad at them either decision. If they came out and said, hey guys, we can't have this much fatigue in our game, like we're just going to lose the entire casual base. I don't know what they do. That's why I say I don't envy them in this spot because I think it's fun. But I know most people do not.
Well, okay, 1 second. You keep talking about casual base, Cody, but then we're also talking about ProQuest. Are those two the same thing in your mind?
I think if you're okay, this is a good question. Because I think the casual base for Flesh and Blood is vastly different than the casual base for most card games. I think of going to ProQuest as your casual base. There's a group of people who go for this game will go to RTNs, PQs. They will maybe go to one calling major a year. They will not leave the country to go play. That is way more not casual than any other card game that exists currently. Like that's not what you would consider a casual. But in the realm of Flesh and Blood, there aren't as many people who are sitting at their kitchen table playing Flesh and Blood. It's just like I know they exist. I know that happens, but
they exist. I don't know they exist.
Yeah, that's not really what this card game is. This is like a tournament based, card game for the most part. Like that's what most people who play the card game, they go to some tournaments. So I would say like I can think of a large swath of players who I would consider, I guess, competitive or casual competitive, however you want to do the terminology, but they go to some ProQuest, they go to some RTNs, they're going to go to a calling or like a nationals, but they're not going to leave the country. They're probably not going to qualify for Pro Tour or Worlds, but they'll go to the one of the other things, right? And that group of players typically doesn't like fatigue decks, and they're most of the players in the game. Like that group, in my mind, is the largest portion of the player base.
Yeah, I think also what you're saying,
definitely the people
if they do decide, yeah, if LSS does decide to make sweeping changes like they did with hitting all the cards that draw, it is kind of in line with the theory of the $20 ticket. I know we've memed on that forever, but the concept of that, right, is just that anyone from casual level on up can take this like relatively easy button, like you were saying, Lucas. Like there's a click here, and then you have a deck that can compete with the rest of the meta.
Mm-hmm.
I think if that's how they want the game to be played, where everybody has an alternative that maybe it won't win the tournament, maybe it won't go that far, but like it'll be something that can at least compete with all the heroes that they allow to be competitive based on the cards they've printed and the ban list choices, then I think, yeah, maybe the answer will be to remove some of the strength of these fatigue decks and make it more of a, maybe there's one fatigue deck that exists that has some targeted weakness to it instead of a bunch of different ones that are all top players in the meta.
I just think go to your ProQuest and ask the players if they like the fatigue decks. And you're going to get a large percentage of people who are not going to be happy that fatigue.
Okay, to be fair,
you're going to get almost unanimous no.
Yeah.
To be fair, one sec. We should bring this back to the real world. I think a lot of times you start to associate like decks and players, or maybe this person doesn't like fatigue decks because they don't like the way that someone is engaging with the game because they're like pretentious about fatigue, like they're taking a long time when maybe they think that they have already won the game and it's like BM. I think maybe there's some added like table elements to it of why people don't necessarily like fatigue locally if there's people who are just like known for doing the strategy. And
I would say if anything though, that's all kind of just like incentivized by the play pattern of the deck. Like if I'm playing a deck who kind of needs my opponent to play quicker to win or to be able to win the game in time, like maybe people just aren't going to like me as much because I have to ask them to play faster every 5 minutes.
I don't know. I mean, I see it, I guess, more often than you would expect, but like people just like, they go to time and then they do not concede if
exactly.
you kill them, like, because they don't like fatigue. Like that is a thing that happens.
Oh yeah,
at
you
that
guys
level.
remember? I don't know if you guys remember. There was like a scandal the first year of US Nats where like some guy like didn't want to concede to it. Some guy was like intentionally drawing with an Oldhim player because he just didn't like that he was trying to fatigue him, so he just slow played.
Yeah, I don't see it happen as often at like the bigger events, but I see it happen a lot more often at the lower like the PQ
Oh, yeah.
RTN levels.
People get salty.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say probably these fatigue decks would actually win more if stuff like that didn't happen.
Oh, for
I'm sure they have like a bunch of free losses of just like it's draws because people are salty with how the game is playing out.
I feel like my average ProQuest, if there's like 3 or 4 fatigue players, I'm gonna have like 1 or 2 draws.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know what the answer here is because I'm fine with this existing the way
Well,
it is,
the-
and I think most of the pro players are. It's just that like you can't alienate that much of your player base.
Well, it's also interesting for this list in particular because they've never really had like a crazy change up. Like they've had these like 2 weeks before the Pro Tour ban lists for the last few Pro Tours, but we've never really had like very big changes this close. So it would be very surprising for me if it was like, yeah, we just ban a bunch of cards from these fatigue decks. Because again, the other thing is like, in order to actually balance these fatigue decks, they would have to hit all of the decks specifically. And they would have to be like, we think fatigue is a problem, so we're gonna hit like a Huntsman card and a Pleiades card and a Jarl card.
And maybe it's this ban list comes out, they say, hey, we're going to allow this to exist for Pro Tour. There will be another ban list after Pro Tour looking at the fatigue decks. Because to be fair, I think most people going to Pro Tour probably don't mind that the fatigue decks exist, and the ProQuest season's already over. So you're only really asking this meta to exist for a month.
Maybe.
And then you're going to be like, hey, we'll then tone them down moving forward after that.
Maybe.
And then you don't have
maybe Ziggy Starlight will solve all of our problems.
Yeah, but that's too far away. There's too many local events where it's just half fatigue decks.
Can I propose a radical idea?
Sure.
Do you think they would ever make like a easy mode? Obviously, they would do better marketing than that. But like, what if all in-store play had a different ban list than like calling plus play?
Nah, they'd never do it.
Because I always thought it was very strange how the event season that you qualify for, like right now we're playing in this meta, but the event we're qualifying for is a completely different meta. That always just like seemed weird to me in my head of like, you qualify, like it used to be more exaggerated when we played limited at these, where you would qualify with one set's limit and then you could just be terrible at the limited you're actually playing at the tier 4 that you qualified for.
A lot of people were.
So I think it wouldn't be that crazy in that regard of people have the expectation of, okay, I qualified playing this one hero, but there's no guarantee that this hero is going to be viable or even legal for the event I qualified for. Yeah, they would never do it, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I agree that it's always been weird that it's like, hey, this hero got me here. Oh, this hero's now gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting for the people who qualify on like Verdance. Like,
I mean, 9 or 8 people qualified on KO, and now KO is gone.
That's true.
Yeah.
They will definitely not be allowed to play it. But I don't know. I don't envy the position LSS is in. I don't know what the answer to the question is. I'm just curious to see what stance they take, because we know that the player base did not like CYB. CYB is a way different beast, to be fair, than this. And for a while, LSS said that they thought CYB was fine.
Yeah.
And that they only got rid of it because players didn't like it. I'm curious to see what stance they take here moving forward. I just worry. I just want people to be happy and keep playing Flesh and Blood and not quit Flesh and Blood. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
And when I go to events and I see people like visually just getting upset because of just fatigue all over the place, then I get worried because I'm like, well, I don't want people don't normally leave that way when they play against other decks, right?
That's fair. I think that the one saving grace of what we have now versus CYB is that the heroes that are fatiguing, like, when you sit down and they present their hero, you know what's happening. It's not like there's a surprise or twist factor. Like, if you sit down against Huntsman, he's got 1 goal. Plead, he's like they have 1 goal.
Yeah, like you sit down against Fang back in the day, and like you're like, oh, I'm gonna play my defense reactions and my, my aura hate, and then they're like, I have 9 count your blessings and 20 defense reactions. I'm playing Decimator Great Axe.
Yeah, there's none of those shenanigans.
This is true. I don't know. I'm curious to see. But for us, we will just figure out what to play for Pro Tour. That is quickly coming up. And don't forget, we still have to play Silver Age. So, we still gotta...
Whatever, man.
Mentioning the last Silver Age event we had 5 KOs in the top 8. Any chance we get another round of Silver Age bans to handle the KO problem?
Whatever.
It would have to be emergency, right?
They don't care.
Okay. Well,
5 and 8.
Okay. I'm gonna ask this then. Do you think this is the first format we see with like severely high representation of one deck?
I think it's very possible that KO is over 40% of the field at Pro Tour. But I also think it's possible that depending on how the next few weeks go, KO is like less than 30%.
So you think anything could happen?
Yeah, I think it seems likely that it will be high at this point.
So basically what we have to do is make sure it's 35%. That's the range in which Lucas is wrong.
That would still be incredibly high
Yeah.
for Flesh and Blood, right?
It would,
yeah. It would not surprise me in the slightest if KO was higher representation than any other top deck we've ever seen. And there's almost no margin that would surprise me. Like if it was like 50%, I'd be like, okay.
Fair. Okay, anything else on, I guess we don't want to call it the Slop format anymore. We want to call it the Froyo format. Is that what we're calling it?
Hell yeah.
That's positive, man. It's good.
Any more comments you guys want on the Froyo format? No? Okay.
No more comments.
Let's go to some podcast questions. These are asked by premium members of our Metafy. If you'd like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, or just let us know that you like our Worlds movie that's come out. If you haven't seen our Worlds movie yet, please click in the show notes below. It is great. You can watch it 2x speed if you're worried about how long it is. That's how I watch it. I thought it was great. But it had a lot of great fanfare. But if you'd like to support that, join in the Metafy below. So, first question here from Michael. He asks, since Omen of the Third Age are coming up soon, what cards you think currently available in CC will be banned in the upcoming BNR announcement, if any will be?
I assume this ban list will not reference Omens of the Third Age at all. Maybe there'll be 1 or 2 cards, but they don't need to ban the cards from that set yet, right?
Yeah, I think it's possible that they could. I mean, if you look at the list of cards that could be potentially broken, it's like Blast to Oblivion, Somersault, Flash of Brilliance, Lightning Greaves, Gone in a Flash. I don't think there's anything else with this new set that seems like it would be potentially ban-worthy. I would say probably Blast to Oblivion is the most likely, followed by Somersault.
Followed by probably. Unless they're all built around Greaves.
I was going to say,
they would ban Greaves.
I think it's unlikely that they would ban Greaves, although I could see them banning Greaves as kind of like we don't like Gone in a Flash, but we don't want to ban Gone in a Flash thing. But I think it's more likely that they would hit Blast, Somersault, or Flash of Brilliance.
I would not be surprised if Somersault goes.
I think in that order for me. I think Blast is the most
OP, man. It has to get banned.
Yeah, I think Blast is like the most likely to be heinous with Ziggy, but it could also just be that he's kind of built around being able to play Blast. And then, yeah, I think Somersault similarly, yeah. Just being able to play an Illusionist blue base with 9 Somersault does not seem cool.
Well, it does seem cool if I'm playing it, man.
Oh, agree. We played the same Living Legend Calling Man. We've lived this universe. We've lived.
I love the fantasy. It was great.
We were our cards were blocking 2 and we were happy for it. Imagine if they had a 3 in the bottom corner.
They blocked 2 and it was secretly like 4 or 5.
Yeah. You're like block Enigma Chimera and Phantasmal Haze, bouncing back to hand. Disgusting. Filthy. free blue play, by the way.
Okay.
But maybe we can say the cards that'll get banned from the current game. Do you have any ideas?
Blast and such.
Oh,
No, I'm saying like for before the Pro Tour.
I have
You think those will
no
be banned now?
idea because it's all
really up to
about
them.
their
Yeah.
direction.
There's nothing heinously oppressive, but there's also a bunch of stuff that's kind of not fun.
You
So
know, it'd be
like,
lit.
they could go in like any direction they want.
Imagine they ban Leave No Witness. No one has ever talked about that card getting banned, I don't think. But like,
People definitely have. That card should get banned eventually, I think.
it
If they
should,
don't
yeah,
wanna
it
ban
should have never been printed. It's way too OP.
Yeah.
So they
If
should
don't
just
wanna
ban.
Codex for sure.
They don't want to ban Codex because then, you know, certain people would have to admit fault. That never happened.
I look forward to the first line of that article whenever it comes out.
Maybe we'll edit that part out. You'll never know what I just said. I don't need to start beef.
Kraft asks, in celebration of 10 years of FAB, I know we're not there yet, but bear with me. You are tasked with assembling a top 8 of the best, most iconic decks in the game up until now. Which decks would be in your bracket? I mean, Chain for sure.
I assume we're constraining ourselves to classic constructed.
Yes.
Okay, and we're saying most iconic, right? Not actually best.
Iconic.
Not
yes, iconic.
Best. We can ignore the best part, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Chain is iconic.
Chain, Starvo, Prism.
Yep.
Probably Briar.
Briar, I go back and forth on, but maybe.
Briar and Oldhim, I think, are both like kind of close, I think. Chain, Starvo, Prism for sure.
Yeah. You got to put Lexi in there. I hear people talk to me about Lexi all the time. I think that is.
I would put Briar ahead of Lexi for sure in terms of being iconic.
I think it's more interesting to talk about the actual decks that are iconic. Like, I think if you consider the...
That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about.
No, but I mean, like, instead of the hero, like, what was the actual deck? Like, you're just saying Lexi. You're not saying, like, Fuseless Lexi or, like, Giga Ice Lexi.
Yeah.
Because Lexi had, like, the original version, right, that Yuki won Nats with.
I guess that's
before
fair.
the good cards. So, like, I think if you talk about a specific format, the Viscerai with the Skeletta, like, first coming out, the deck that, like, Yuanji won that Blitz tournament with, that was kind of like a crazy idea. I didn't play at the time, but just like looking back at it, Skeletta comes out and you just like do insane stuff with cost reduction. I don't know. That seems like an iconic deck. And then Skeletta gets banned before the Pro Tour, and then
yeah, I think you could probably. I would put, if we're talking specific decks, I would definitely say Michael Hamilton's U.S. Nationals Icelander deck.
Yeah, that has to be number one.
The first Bolander deck, I think, is, if it's like decks at tournaments, I think that Icelander deck is number one probably.
Yeah, not close.
Decks at tournaments. Wow. We haven't had that. Like, the problem is there's no like innovation in FAB, right?
Well, also like CYB Enigma is definitely, even though it's evil, that was like a iconic deck. I feel like every deck just had to pass that bar of like, can you be a deck if you can beat this?
I'd probably put Aurora up there too. Just, it was kind of the same deck for its whole existence, but like that deck was so well loved and known for its.
There is some version of Chain. Just
some version of Chain. I was hoping you would hit me with the.
I would say probably just like Seed's Chain is the most iconic.
Seed's Chain is.
You could also just say like Pablo's deck. I won the first Pro Tour.
It's just like it wasn't iconic because you couldn't play it after that. Basically,
that's true.
It's like a lot of these decks, they got like at least some of them were popular, and then you got to play them afterwards, and that made them a lot more iconic. But like if the deck just like did well and then like you could never play it again, is harder for that version to be iconic, I think.
That's fair.
I would say that Dash IE, the first version that played like no boost cards, just like was Giga like tanky.
Yeah,
I think that's like a pretty iconic deck.
Played boost cards in that deck.
Well, yeah, I mean you play the blue ones to block with, yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean. Your game plan was not to boost your deck away, but instead to be defensive. I think that's pretty iconic.
In the first iteration, there were a lot of decks that were still boosting. But Plasma Purifier, Induction Chamber, Control being the deck you're referencing.
Yes.
Oh, here's a good one. I think Charles Briar Fatigue deck
Briar
is definitely an iconic deck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's still talked about how it banned it, like got the deck banned, and they didn't even play Thorn.
Yep. Yeah, the deck that killed Rosetta Thorn without playing it.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
You guys can glaze yourself too with the Hatchet Dory deck that did well at PTLA.
No, we can't glaze ourselves because we didn't top 8.
Oh, you guys did
Yeah.
bad, but I mean for
Well, but like the
spawning
problem
in
is
that deck.
the problem is like the Hatchet Dory decks that did well were like very different from each other and very different from our deck. So there's no like.
I think it was the first time that Dory did well playing not Dawnblade though, right?
Sure.
I did well at that event. I was close.
Yeah.
Like
You were
always.
close and a lot of people got there.
Yeah, I lost a
always
win and
close.
in for the calling.
I'm always close. If you'd like to see me be close, there is a video, the Runaways movie.
Watch tragedy unfold.
That is just every single Pro Tour Worlds that I go to. Almost everyone.
Of course.
Yeah, I think we hit a bunch of decks. I don't know if that was 8, but I think we talked about it.
On the topic of evil fatigue decks, I think you could put Charles. I think another Runaways one, not to toot our own horn too much, but not that I think this was before he was on the team. This is calling Indy the old him fatigue slop deck. This is kind of like the first like fatigue slop deck that we'd seen in the game with like the Imperial Warhorn and like just blocking out every turn into all the decks.
Yeah. I don't know if Zen, full power Zen counts, but
I would say Art of War Zen Art of War Zen's definitely iconic because everybody agrees and understands that it is the best Flesh and Blood deck that has ever existed in CC.
Yeah. I think especially Evan popularizing the needles.
Oh, the needles, yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed. Okay. In MTG, there was a precon that had a card banned some months later, and it was legal to play the precon if there were no changes to it. Would this approach be good for the KO issue?
No.
To say it as nice as possible? Absolutely hell not.
No, it was a dumb solution at the time.
Yeah, they should never do this.
Yeah, you just literally, if it's that deep, just make a new KO precon. Whatever.
Yeah.
Millen asks, what do you think is the best card of each talent/element? That'd be a lot of cards.
Wow.
Oh, we can do no, it's not that much. It's just talents. There's not that many talents. So here, let's just start. Let's start at the Genesis. Shadow. What's the best Shadow card? And I assume we're gonna say this includes the class cards as well. So this includes Shadow Brute and Shadow Runeblade cards.
Cull?
I'm thinking
Cull's close.
I'm thinking
Succumb?
It's not a Shadow card.
All right.
I'm thinking,
I only played in Shadow decks.
Leviathan now, real quick.
I think Leviathan Consumed is perhaps up there.
Yeah.
Not to do too many Leviathan cards, but Shadow Realm Horror is a really broken card. I think Cull is probably a good answer.
Also, Shadow Puppetry is pretty strong.
Yeah, but that's not that maybe is like the most iconic, but it's definitely not the best, I don't think.
But it's pure Shadow.
Sure. I would say basically all of the things that just make one of the 6/6 allies at various points when those are playable are kind of broken.
The Tekla-Vossen flip.
The Tekla-Vossen flip is pretty broken, yeah. Mechropotent is one of the better Shadow cards.
Yeah.
I think Cull is probably a good answer. If it's just what is the actual best, I think probably Cull is. I would say Leviathan Consumed, actually, but
you could do that. There's you could try and make an argument for Carrion Husk.
Yeah, you can make an argument for Carrion Husk.
I was gonna say it, but then I chose better because it's not true. Because you could play.
That's why I said you could. Yeah.
Moving on to Light.
ALS.
I'm thinking, ALS. Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat ALS. Lumina Ascension. To be fair,
It's
ALS.
ALS.
Come on.
It's ALS.
Not even
There's literally no.
Yeah.
okay. No, I'm
Maybe light is full.
I'm here for this. Okay. Moving on to Aria, we have Lightning. I'm thinking Gone in a Flash, Channel Lightning Valley, Lightning Greaves. Probably it's just Gone in a Flash. Or no, it's Somersault. It's Somersault. It's definitely Somersault.
I don't know. I kind of think it's Greaves.
I think because of the interaction between the Acilio hero ability and Gone in a Flash and Lightning Greaves, Greaves is like the most powerful, but I think if you're just talking about like the best card in and of itself, it's Somersault.
Yeah, Somersault. I think Blast could be up there. Blast is pretty insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Somersault. I wouldn't argue that hard against.
Yeah,
it.
you could. I think you could go like Arc Lightning. But yeah, I would say probably Somersault is my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For Ice, it's between Channel Lake Frigid and Stalagmite. I think it's probably Stalagmite. I think Stalagmite.
If you want to do equipment, it's probably Stalagmite. If you want to do a card channel.
Yeah, CLF is iconic.
I don't know. Winter's Whale's pretty gross as well.
We can't say two equipments, man.
Yeah, I would.
Wait, it's not even Ice. It's Elemental Guardian, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're right.
Stalagmite is Ice though.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say probably Stalagmite. For Earth, it's not a competition. It's Crown of Seeds.
It's Crown of Seeds.
If you want to make it a card, it's Felling, but that's also not a competition. So
yeah,
that's super interesting. For Uprising, so
Draconic.
I'm thinking
that one's a little tough to figure out.
I mean, like, is it ridiculous to say like Invoke Chromai?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what comes to mind. Is Invoke Chromai.
Oh wait, actually no. It's definitely the 5-cost one that kills your equipment. What's that one called?
Tumultai?
Yeah, it's definitely Tumultai.
I don't know. It's not the best. It's like maybe the most powerful, but
sometimes you put the card on the board and the game is over. Like, that has to be the criteria for being the best.
Yeah, but it's sometimes you put it on the board. Like that, then the best card.
Well, the other times you just didn't draw it.
But you can't always cast it when you draw it. It costs 5. Your deck's all red. People were not even playing that card. People would like cut that card.
Is it? I don't know if that counts. If it's within. I don't know. Chromai is pretty good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could pick one of the dragons.
I mean, Dominia is really good too. If you want to go through that.
Dominia is really powerful.
Or just Rake the Embers. Actually, is probably the simplest one.
Yeah. I think Rake the Embers is probably the best answer for Draconic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's next?
Yeah. What else is there?
Let's see. We got Chaos. We have somebody to choose from with Chaos.
Yeah, I mean the best Chaos card is Arachne Marionette. But
Arachne Black Widow.
I guess it's Schism. Yeah, we're not doing heroes. We're not we can't actually do heroes. I don't think.
It's Black Widow. She's not a hero. It's a card.
No, surely it's Meat Madness, because that one gets played. Meat Madness is basically the only Chaos card that gets played, right?
Schism's pretty broken in the matchups where it's good.
But it's not that it gets played like universally, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's okay. probably Meat Madness.
What's the next talent?
What have
Revered?
Revered, yeah. The best Revered card is There's like no good ones.
They're all so bad.
And there's actually just no good Revered cards at all. All the answers are so troll. It's like, what is it like?
It's like no hero stands alone.
Oh wait, no,
can be great.
It's just tough smash up. That's definitely the most broken. That's like the Blast Oblivion Somersault level card, right? Like that you play it in all colors and the deck it's good in.
I refuse to say that card is the best.
You're not satisfied?
No, it's got to be like
it's just up on a pedestal or tough smash up for sure. Like looking at results of what exists in the game right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything else is just a tough nut card. So it's just like kind of by default. Terrible.
Okay, do the other half.
Yeah, Reviled.
I think it's like outside interference. It's pretty good. I think
That's the coolest. I don't know if it's the best.
For Reviled. Lyeth's Intimidate card is really good.
I'll leave him hanging. Yeah, that's
leave
for
him
sure the
hanging.
I mean,
Steel Victory is an incredibly powerful card.
leave them hanging is really good.
Mocking Blow. Probably Mocking Blow.
Mocking Blow sucks. Every card sucks besides leave them hanging.
Leave
Let's
them
not kid
hanging.
ourselves.
I mean, all the cards are terrible, but Mocking Blow is...
Leave them hanging is OP. Leave them hanging has the potential to just be like worth $1 million. You take all their lunch money, never give it back.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
Okay, the last one is the best one. Mystic. I wonder what we'll say.
Oh, this one's okay. So if it's equipment,
if we're not counting equipment, I guess.
Actually, if it's an equipment, is it 12 petal Kasaya?
It's Traverse. Come on.
It's Traverse. I mean,
is it?
It's not even close.
Yes.
I don't know. I think Zen would be better without Traverse than he would be without Kasaya.
The best card is
Inner
Chi. Inner Chi is the best Mystic card.
Okay, that's cheating. If we're talking about the best Mystic, it's actually not. It's also literally not. It's Manifestations of Miragai.
Yeah, it's Miragai.
Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument for like Levels of Enlightenment. You could make an
argument
for Siren's Call.
Levels is broken. Siren's Call is also broken. That's true. I would say Miragai is probably the best answer, but I think
Miragai is also broken.
Yeah. I think you could get away with saying Levels because it's just like kind of messed up in all the heroes.
You could also make an argument for Mask of Recurring Nightmares. I think that card's absolutely broken as well.
Yeah. I think it actually probably is Levels, just because that card is the best enabler and like one of the best power plays in like every single hero. Like even the hero it's weakest in, it's like the only way in your whole deck to do like a real amount of damage on a turn.
Yeah, Mystic's OP. Every card's busted.
Man, I miss Mystic so much.
Me too.
God, give me some Mystic, man. I want my Mystic back.
Indeed. Is that all of them?
The other one is Elemental.
What's the best Elemental card? Winter's Wail. All right, we did it.
Broken Old.
It's Winter's Wail. Yeah. All right, yeah. If it's
Awakening,
like main deck card. Okay.
If it's main deck card, it's Awakening.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Awakening. I forgot
that is like probably the best card that has ever been printed to me.
Yeah. Provided that Guardian attacks exist in the game.
Right, here. We didn't miss anything, right?
No, man, we didn't miss anything. Okay. We're not going to get fired if we missed one thing as well.
I want to make sure we get. I believe it.
Ryan asks, James White calls you up and asks you to choose the main protagonist for season 1 of the Adventures in Wraith animated series. Who is the main protagonist that the series focuses on for season 1?
First of all, James White would never do this. He would just make it Prism, and nobody would get to have a say. No, yeah. I'm just playing. I mean, there's a lot of good answers, right?
Do you think it should be one of the heroes themselves, or like it should be a disciple of one of the heroes?
I think we should all name what we would like it most to be, and if any one of us choose anybody that's not a hero, I'll be shocked.
I don't think that's what he meant, but
yeah, just like pick a hero. If there's like a character that you actually care about enough to say, I'll call you a liar and say that you're doing it for show, but you know.
Personally, I think it would be cool to do one. Are we answering on 3 or something, or do I just say what I'm saying?
Yeah, just say whatever.
I think the coolest one would be like the Arachnes, like hearing the story of like how they don the masks and their whole like life up until this point, or even it could be like a flashback style story where like it starts with them doing their assassination stuff, and then we gradually learn more and more about their backstory as the events unfold. I think that would be a
like
cool start.
The opening scene is like killing the Emperor, and then you go back 20 years, and then it's like a dual timeline thing.
Yeah, exactly. That would be really cool.
I mean, I think you have to mention Monarch. They could just do the Monarch.
Yeah, I think doing Monarch is the most likely, right? You think just like Piltover for Arcane, like Solana's right there.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of like a hero. I can't see. It seems like the Light and Shadow heroes are already like well established in the world, whereas Marionette seems like they're just like a member of the world, you know.
Dash would be pretty interesting. She has a lot of interesting lore, and a lot of different places where she could go, and like
And you can put Teklo in there.
I was gonna say, yeah, like the mech lore. I think the Bright Lights lore was actually like pretty well done, and
I think mech is the wrong aesthetic to pick
I agree.
for
I agree.
the first Flesh and Blood season,
I
though.
agree.
That is my only hang up.
I agree. Yeah, I think it would be probably one of the Arya heroes would make the most sense, whether it's like thematically, whichever one makes the most sense. Probably like Lexi.
I think okay. Let's do level 0 thinking. People hear the words flesh and blood. This is why I went with assassin. It's someone who'd be stabbed in the flesh and blood. I don't hear flesh and blood and think of like an elemental wizard. I think of like flesh and blood. Like there's like these types of activities involving both flesh and blood happening.
Well, it depends though if it's a show marketed, because like you look at like Arcane, right? Like it's not called League of Legends. It's called Arcane. Here's a story about the mechanologist town in League of Legends. Right. So
Yeah,
I
but
feel
the
like
whole point is like magical. Like you have Heimerdinger literally like frame 1.
no, I agree. But I think they could do a similar thing, right? Where it's like the main character is Lexi, and then it's her going through like these like old taverns and meeting assassins, and then like going to big cities and meeting the Solana people. Because the other thing is Lexi goes to Solana in the lore. Like she's one of the Arya heroes that pulls up. So like you could still do the Solana thing without having to make like Prism the main character.
Okay, so it starts in the trenches more, and then eventually becomes.
Which is, it probably starts in Arya, right? Like it starts like frolicking in the wilderness, and then something horrible happens, and she a shiver goes up her spine, and then she becomes a.
I just don't hear flesh and blood and think frolicking in the wilderness, man.
Well, yeah, but you don't hear League of Legends and think like I don't know. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I think it would work because it's a ranger, right? Like it's not like she's like a. Like she's not like a druid, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair.
I don't know. Lots of options. They should just pick an area of the map and make the story in that area, and then see who lives in that area.
All the stories are compelling. Like you could convince me with almost anything that you can make a good show out of it.
Mike at Blackout Party says, can you name the 5 cards that have any form of strike in their name but are not attack actions?
Oh shit.
Okay. This is gonna be tough, man.
Yeah,
not attack action cards with strike in their name.
Not attack actions?
I got one.
Okay.
Voltaire, strike twice.
Yep.
All right, now you guys got to come up with some. It also, Lucas, it says the hint is tour equipment. I'm assuming Voltaire is counted as one of those.
Yeah. Strikers.
Is it like strike? I'm thinking like strike when it's hot. Like strike when. Is there a card that's like that? Like strike when the.
Strike the flames or something. I know there's stoke the flames.
No, but like strike.
I'm not going to get anything on this one.
Yeah, I'm completely lost.
You kind of clued me into something when you were talking about strike equipment. Is there maybe a strike equipment that was in?
I thought there was like a strikers or something like that, but I don't know if that would count.
Strikers. There's definitely a warrior card, definitely a guardian card, and a ranger card. If I had to guess, does this count? Do we get 50% credit if I name the classes that the cards are in?
This is a hard one.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so bad, man.
This might be the hardest one of all time.
Like this, though, you know, like it's impossible to study without just looking.
Like strike the anvil. Is there something like that?
Yeah, I can picture a guy going like this, man. Yeah. Surely that's a card.
No, if you're when it's not like the first or last word of the card, like we're cooked.
It's hard. Let's look.
You know what? I bet there's also a dash one.
Ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
Fang strike.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wait. High striker.
That's the guy who makes copper. He's lit.
Yep. Yeah. Strike twice.
Wait, just strike twice? That's a card? What does that do? Hold on.
Swift strike bracers.
Oh, yeah.
And Voltaire strike twice.
First tenant strike first.
Oh, strike twice is like not even a real card. It just came out. It's the lightning wizard action.
Wait, did you already say?
Oh, that's from. It's from
Oh, strike
speed.
versus it's the new lightning instant. I see.
Yeah, it's completely useless.
Yeah.
Wait, we got trolled. We were never gonna get that. I don't even read the cards that already exist.
Yeah, strike twice. Okay, we could have got Fang Strike though. That one's a good one. That one's low
Yeah.
key.
That one we should have got.
We also
That was
should have
Also, High
gotten
Striker?
Shark Racers, I feel like.
I've wanted to play High Striker in so many decks before when cash in was legal. Like you put High Striker on the board, boom, cash in. I'm investing in my future.
2-card 2, baby. 2-card 2 cards. It's lit.
Yeah, but it's Flesh and Blood, man. Like you play Energy Potion, it's lit. Come on, don't rain on my parade. Like it's set up.
All right, yeah, you'll do it.
Also, it works on any attack. You know that
You'll
you
win
can do
the
High Striker
professional
into your
tour.
weapon.
Oh, now we're cooking.
It's actually okay.
Darken asks, am I really going to have to play KO at Yokohama? This feels ridiculous. In a more serious terms, LSS is putting their pre-con products in front of the health of the game
It's
on
not
the
even a
largest
question.
stage possible. It's hard for me to take the format seriously when they obviously aren't.
Awesome, man.
Thoughts?
Awesome. That's great. Do we have a question?
No one.
Yeah, the question is, am I really going to have to play KO at Yokohama?
Okay.
No?
You know how people say, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? This definitely falls into the concerns category. Yeah, I mean, whatever. You could play
Nope.
KO. Maybe
You don't have to play KO. There are other decks. There are plenty of decks that counter KO. There are also decks that counter the decks that counter KO.
There's
Yeah.
also KO.
you can also just play it, man. What if everybody is thinking like you, and then everyone abandons him, and you're just the only sane person who plays KO and wins
You'll
the
be the
tournament?
only one.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be too lit.
Only one in the room.
I don't know. I mean, in all fairness, he does have a point. How did they not hit KO?
Because the cards that make sense to hit are in the structure deck. We know why.
Surely that can't be it.
Of course it can't.
But we already know it's it. We don't have to rehash, man. It is what it is.
Oh
We don't
man.
need to keep beating him up.
There's like almost no other explanation. like it's actually kind of insane. Like,
Oh, you can't. I didn't realize we have a new rule in Silver Age. We can't ban cards that are in
like they banned
Oh no.
like they banned Sirens of Safe Harbor and they didn't ban any other KO. Let's go.
Oh. Well, I guess in the future we'll know what can't be banned if we just always look at what the decks that come out are. Oh. I was not aware of this.
Man. Who knows? Anything could change.
To be fair, it does.
That was how a competitive card game worked.
It does.
All right, we don't gotta keep playing.
It does feel unlikely that
we're putting them in the dirt.
It does feel unlikely that is actually the only reason, and that is like a rule that they have, right? Like it's. I doubt that they're actually like, oh darn, we can't do this because it's in the pre-con. But also, it would not surprise me if they were like, it's fine. We don't need to hit KO cards. We don't need to ruin the pre-con experience. Surely
that isn't the reason, because they said in the LL one that the reason that they unbanned Dirge was to make the Viscerai deck playable, and then they said that was a mistake and we won't do that, and then they banned it anyway.
Well, that was just
for LL. We're not in that situation again.
They can realize
it was just for LL format. Come on.
Oh,
it's also
they haven't done it yet for stage.
Like on a real note, though, I think if anything, that's actually a data point to suggest that is why they did it, because like they unbanned Dirge so that people could play one of the like 8 copies of the Gen Con Viscerai structure decks in a format that's fake.
No.
This is like a real format where they actually care about the precons and people can get them. Clearly, they are willing to go some amount of lengths to make that work. So yeah, I mean, clearly it's part of it. It might not be.
Dude, we're never getting another spoiler card.
Oh, we're never getting anything.
It's fine.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew we were cooked when James White was like, "Hey, I'll come on a podcast," and then there was like 27 comments that said, "You should go on the Runaways podcast," and then we never even got to talk to him about it. I'm like, "Oh, we're so."
I would guess that most people didn't get to talk to him about it.
Yeah, that was yeah. It's not the right space anyway. Come on, we don't do guests.
We would have.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
He shouldn't come.
We tried to do guests.
Yeah. We have zero structure. We have zero plans. We can't do guests, man. Come on.
No.
Surely,
if I feel like we could have some guests on. If Brian,
there are some guests we could.
If Brian Gottlieb wants to come on,
he could handle it.
Yeah, we could have a great time.
We would.
We could invite his best friend Connor on to make sure that there's no hostility.
True.
Not that there would be anyway, of course. But just I don't know for fear.
They hate us.
To make the viewers more comfortable.
They hate everything about us.
They do not hate everything about us. Cody's trying to start one-sided beef with LSS. Unreal.
I'd hate us if I was LSS.
All right, man, come on. We're digging so deep.
Just ask the next podcast. Damn it. Abort mission. Come on, just keep going.
Next question from Foxbait says, you walk into the restroom and there are 5 urinals. Oh. Urinal 1 being the closest to you and urinal 5 being the furthest. There's a person using urinal 1 and 3. Urinal 1 is being used normally, but at urinal 3, the person using it is shooting from the other side. Back against the wall, steady stream spanning across the entire restroom with the unspoken urinal rule in mind. Which urinal are you taking?
Well, okay. There's literally 2 options. No, time out. Time in.
You got it? No. I was showing the room. This is urinal 1 in use. Urinal 2 is open. Urinal 3's got someone streaming all the way across.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 and 5 are open.
Yeah.
You're supposed to take 5.
Okay. There's 2 options. There's take urinal 5, or there is leave the restroom. There are no third option. Like, what are you gonna do? Take urinal 2? Like, come on now.
There's a very clear option in my opinion. You assess how far away the person in urinal 3 is standing. Are they standing literally as far back from the room as possible or no? And then you make it a contest. You stand directly next to them, and you also try to piss in urinal 3 and make it a challenge of how far back you can stand and who can do the furthest. That's what I would do for sure.
Right, well, there you go. If you're at your Flesh and Blood tournament and you see Noah Bagelman in the bathroom,
if you're standing in the direct center of the bathroom, pissing 5 feet, that's a challenge. I'm going 6.
Start a stream war with Noah in between draft and CC at the next Pro Tour.
I can't wait for the story of. So I was in the bathroom, and someone came up to me and said, "Do you want a challenge?"
I'll start saving up. I usually piss every round. I'll save up like 3 rounds of piss for that, dude. See how far I can go.
Okay, you're on your own on that one, Noah.
Yeah, I'm leaving the bathroom. I don't know. You guys piss on the walls yourselves.
I would never piss against the wall. Come on.
King of Mice says, is the honeymoon experience of deck building, which Lucas has mentioned before, as well as several other players, a factor that can be maximized in tournaments, i.e. does the honeymoon experience of deck building time when the deck is actually performing better, or are you playing the deck better or just experiencing the deck better?
So what happens during what the honeymoon phase actually is, it's the same in like what people talk about in relationships. That's why you call it the honeymoon phase. It's not that it hums any better or that it does anything particular. Like you're not actually drawing better. You just don't realize when you're failing. Like when you're first playing a deck, if you lose a game, you're just like, oh, I probably didn't play right. Or, oh, I didn't, maybe I just didn't understand this matchup. Or I hadn't seen this before, or I just got unlucky. And then when it's your 70th time playing the matchup and you're like, oh, this matchup's easy. I know exactly how to beat it, blah, blah, blah. I only lose if they high roll me, because that's how everybody thinks about every matchup with the deck that they've been playing for the last 3 months. And you lose it, you just go, oh, it sucks. It's low variance. I got unlucky. Like, there was nothing I could have done. I played perfectly. I didn't make any mistakes. So it's just like, don't be a dumbass when you've been playing a deck for 3 months. Just like, be objective. That's really what the honeymoon phase is. It's just that you're not objective when you're first learning a deck because you're not willing to see the faults.
I have a secondary argument of what the honeymoon phase is. I think the honeymoon phase is before you realize all the failure points.
Yeah. That's another way of saying
you're just making plays and you're like, oh, it works. And then after you've played the deck like 100 games, you're like, oh my God, at least some portion of the time this completely fails. Maybe I shouldn't make this play at all anymore because of all the times I think about in the past where it has failed. And you're like, you just don't have any of those thoughts clouding your brain when you're playing. And like, I think the longer you play a deck, the more some of those things stand out and can actually lead to worse play.
So to bounce off that though, to answer the question, like I think everything you're saying is true. One thing to learn is that if you've been playing a deck for a while, remember you still have to take risks sometimes, right? So like that's one thing is a lot of the time I would guess that people do actually have, because of what you're saying, some slight increased win rate in some spots during the honeymoon phase. Like they'll win games that they wouldn't have had they been playing the deck for a long time, because they're not perceiving things as risky. They're not understanding that like, oh, this might just lose me the game here. They just ship it and it wins them the game. But like you were saying, the more experienced player is going to potentially be too conservative in some of those spots.
Yeah, I agree
Noah?
with all you were saying.
Okay.
I would say the only thing that keeps it fresh, in my opinion, of how I can play, because I think often when this came up a little bit ago, if you rewind, where we were talking about the popular decks, and you guys just started listing heroes instead of listing like the actual decks themselves. I think this can come up and keep a deck fresh. Again, very like parallel to the relationship. You just like keep changing up little stuff, you know? Like you don't necessarily register the exact same 80 for every tournament. You keep things fresh and you mix up a few cards here and there.
Or if you're Noah, you necessarily don't submit the same 80 cards for
Yeah,
every
exactly.
tournament.
Maybe it becomes a problem that you develop, but for other people, maybe it's a solution.
Yeah, that's actually how Noah keeps so many of his relationships going so long, right? Like his KO relationship lasted for 2 years, and that's just because he kept adding in new spice, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
take all your life advice from me for sure. I got it under control.
With that said, good luck challenging Noah in the bathroom. We will see you guys next week.